the SI Sooners podcast. Oklahoma finally got its national championship. What a memorable 8 days it was in Oklahoma City for the Sooners. Lincoln Riley loses an offensive lineman that a lot of folks had predicted would become a star. And you know what? Lincoln Riley might be getting a new running back. Because as we all know, the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. We are a couple days late with this podcast, and I have to apologize for that. Sorry. Being either tied down with the Oklahoma softball team for 8 days in Oklahoma City or driving back and forth to Oklahoma City for 8 straight days. It just kind of put us behind the 8 ball time-wise. Okay, I'm John Hoover. I'm in Tulsa. And yes, I drive back and forth. Ryan Chapman couldn't join me this week. He's usually in Norman, but had some other stuff going on. I think it's something to do with a new car, so stand by on that one, right? Today's pod, you get a solo shot with John Hoover, which is appropriate because after all the softball I watched this past week and all the driving I did, I feel like Jocelyn Allo's been hitting me over the fence. Anyway, thanks for listening to the SI Sooners podcast, and thanks for watching on my YouTube channel. SI Sooners is a Fan Nation affiliate, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. You know our website by now. It's allsooners.com. Okay, let's reset. Here's what's up. Oklahoma was literally just inches away from 3 national championships in the spring sports this year. 3. Women's gymnastics was ranked number 1 most of the season, but then finished up as runner-up at the NCAA championships. Men's gymnastics, ranked number 1 most of the season, finished runner-up at the NCAA championships. You sense a theme here? Men's golf, ranked number 1 most of the year, finished runner-up at the NCAA championships. So how big was the softball team for Joe Castiglione and the OU athletic department, the entire group? I mean, right, it's put it in perspective. The Sooners were just freaking dominant all year long, right? Just killing people. Easy number 1 choice all year long. And then they get backed into the corner a few times. You know what they did? They came out swinging every time. And as you all know by now, nobody puts Patty in a corner. It was just impressive to watch. James Madison beat OU in the opener of the entire WCWS. OU comes back and beats JMU twice. Florida State beats OU in the opener of the championship series. OU comes back and beats FSU twice. Impressive. The Sooners faced elimination 6 times, and they went 6-0 in those games. They beat Florida State 5-1 in the finale. Just a no-doubt performance on a hot day. And there you have it. Joe Castiglione got his national championship for 2021. And you kind of saw that theme coming a little bit for the softball team in the regular season. Remember when they lost for the first time this year? They were at Georgia. It was a game Oklahoma probably should have won. That crazy home run, girl hit Justin Fields' sister, hit the ball over the fence and didn't step on home plate. Well, Georgia probably should have won that game, but then Oklahoma had a lead in the 7th and blew it. So what does Oklahoma do? They come out in the second game of that doubleheader, and they just stomp a mud hole in Georgia. Like 13-2 was the game, or 12-3 was the score. And then their second loss of the year, Oklahoma's we're talking about, was Oklahoma State in Stillwater. And how do they respond to that when they come out and they beat OSU 2 more times that series in the regular season? Then they beat the Cowgirls again in the Big 12 tournament. Sooners went 56-4, and they avenged each one of their 4 losses. I want you to look at it this way. They lost to Georgia, Oklahoma State, James Madison, and Florida State, right? And they turn around and they beat those 4 teams 8 times by a combined score of 63-24. It's something like an average of 8-3 per game. Yeah, that's how good this team was, and they emphasized it every time they lost. They came out and they flexed their muscles. Jocelyn Allo is the best hitter on the planet, and she was even better than ever in the series. But, the player who just got stupid hot at the right time, and that was every time she came to the plate, I'll just say it, they couldn't have won the whole thing without her. Mackenzie Donahue, my gosh. He made like 4 unbelievable catches in left field. Always seemed to come up with somebody on base, and every time she did, she sent him home. So I was thinking about voting Donahue for my MVP before the last game, right? But man, what a pitching clinic by Giselle Juarez. How do you go back-to-back complete games in the championship series, facing elimination, and, look what she did. She was just phenomenal. 14 innings pitched, 2 complete games, 6 hits, 3 runs allowed, 5 walks, 13 strikeouts. And if you were outside at 2 p.m. on Thursday in Oklahoma, you know how hot and humid it was. She was like freaking Wonder Woman out there, man. Nothing bothered her at all. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it right now because it's always worth repeating. Patty Gasso is the best coach on the Oklahoma campus. It's a fact. 5 national championships. She deserves not only another raise for winning her 5th national title, but she also deserves a new stadium. Am I right or am I right? She told me that fundraising was kind of halted last year, and so, some of the momentum in that fundraising was lost because of the pandemic. I got to think that's not the case anymore, not after last week. If they reach the halfway point of the original number was $21 million for the goal to spend on the stadium. The number $25 million has been thrown out there. But if they get half of that raised ahead of time through donations, private donations, then they'll break ground and they'll start building that thing, right? Patty Gasso Field. How cool would that be? So you got to think that's going to happen now, right? I think she said they were having some pretty good momentum to get to the halfway point, and then it kind of stopped. Well, the iron's hot. There's no time like right now. They got to strike. And if you want to donate, man, I got to think now's your time, right? So I want you to think about the job Patty did this year. It was fun to watch. Yes, she went out and recruited 2 of the best freshman field players in the country, in Jada Coleman and Tiara Jennings, and they are unbelievable. And they were in the series as well. They got a freshman pitcher too. Nicole May is just so good on the mound, or in the circle, sorry. But she also got Jocelyn Allo to play like her old self, right? Senior year, after a little bit of a career slump. She got G. Juarez to play like her old self after a really bad injury. Patty has developed players like Mackenzie Donahue, as I mentioned. Jana Johns transferred in. Taylor Snow's a transfer from Auburn. She developed those guys into really good players, everyday players, especially in the postseason. And then, the rest of the roster, you got big-time players like Nicole Mendez, who are just leaders, amazing big-time leaders of the team. Mendez and Grace Lyons and Lindsey Elam, even a sophomore like Kinsey Hansen, understood what leadership was this year. I got to say, the chemistry on this team was as good as I've seen from any team I have ever covered. Okay? And I'm old now, so that's a lot of teams. But it all starts with Patty Gasso, who, by the way, had some kind of, personal sacrifices that she had to make this week. Am I right? Her youngest son, DJ, scheduled his wedding for the Friday after the College World Series. So 2 days after the thing is over, right? Wrong. The NCAA pushed back one of those scheduled doubleheaders on Elimination Saturday, I think. Because of the rain, there was a delay, and so the tournament basically went an extra day. And the championship game, the final game, the one where OU is actually crowned national champions, DJ had to miss that game, his mom's game, because that's when his wedding rehearsal dinner was scheduled for, and you can't reschedule those things. So if you think about that, Patty had to miss the rehearsal dinner for her youngest son getting married, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, they both got to celebrate a championship, and they both got to celebrate a wedding. The wedding went off the next day. Patty got to be there, so all's well that ends well, right, I guess. Listen, I know there were a lot of people that were ticked off. I was at the stadium every game but the first one. And there were a lot of people who were angry that they had their tickets, they had their kids with them, their family, whatever. They made their travel plans. Their plans got changed when that double elimination doubleheader got pushed back a day. And I understand that. But think about the head coach and her family. I didn't hear her complain one time. Coming up next on the SI Sooners podcast, you've already probably heard the transfer portal news this week. Well, I'm going to tell you what it all means. Hey, you guys, summer is here, the heat is on, and your air conditioning unit is going to be working overtime to keep you cool. But the guys at Trade Pros in Oklahoma City have got you covered. If you are worried about your AC getting you through this summer, just call Trade Pros. Get one of their no-hassle service plans, and they're going to come out twice a year and tune up your AC and your furnace, and you're going to get priority scheduling and discounts. Just call Chris at Trade Pros, 405-316-0598, or go to TradeProsOKC.com. Support for the SI Sooners podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped gives you the tools to get the job done quickly, safely, and hygienically. Guys, you're going to need to hustle on this one. Father's Day is next weekend, so Manscaped has sold out of the Ultra Smooth package, I'm told, so I'm going to need to recommend that you buy him the Performance Package 4.0, and I'm going to recommend that you do it now. Hey, if you want to guarantee Dad is going to be happy with his Father's Day gift this year, I'm telling you guys, go to Manscaped, manscaped.com, and order the Lawnmower 4.0 and the Performance Package. Now, the Performance Package includes the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Also includes the Weed Whacker. That's the one for your ears and nose as well, right? You also get the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver, the awesome Manscaped Boxer Briefs, my personal favorite, and the Shed Travel Bag. Get your groom on with Manscaped and use the promo code SOON for 20% off plus free shipping. Just enter the promo code SOON, that's SOON, at checkout when you order from manscaped.com. Hey, are you a business owner looking to get your product out there to the masses? Let's say you run a hotel in Norman or a car dealership in Oklahoma City or a restaurant in Edmond, or maybe you're a small online business who creates and sells OU merchandise and you just want Sooner Nation to come sample your wares. Well, then consider advertising in this space right here on the SI Sooners podcast. SI Sooners reaches thousands of readers, viewers, and listeners literally every day, and the SI Sooners podcast is the ideal place to find your next customer. To advertise, send an email to allsoonersi@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter at all_Sooners. If you're on Twitter, you can follow SI Sooners at all_Sooners. Ryan is at Radios Ryan. I'm at John E. Hoover. Our website, allsooners.com. We are a Fan Nation affiliate, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. I also want to throw out a little teaser for you guys. Any of y'all that listen to the pod and read our website regularly, we got some big news coming down the pike. I think you're going to love it. I know I'm going to love it. I think Ryan's going to love it. Big news coming up. We'll let you know what that is soon. That's all I got. That's all I can tell you for now. We've got a ton of content for you every day at SI Sooners. Our spring game review stories, where we isolated on one guy at the red-white game. Well, those are finished because, it's summer now. So spring is over. Spring's in the past. It's summer now. We're moving on. But we started a new series yesterday. A lot of fun, called Heisman Memories. We started, of course, with 1952 and Billy Vessels. And what I'm hoping to do with this series is tell you guys a story or two from those seasons that maybe you didn't know, or maybe you knew a long time ago but had forgotten. Cool little factoid in there yesterday about why Billy Vessels actually won the Heisman. Believe it or not, it wasn't just his stats like you see today or his big TV games, right? Maybe it was. There was a reason in there. A reason why he won the Heisman, why the voters were swayed, and Billy basically played his best on the biggest stage and deserved the trophy for sure. Cool story, so check that out, allsooners.com. A little history there. Okay, let's do it. Let's dive into the transfer portal. A guy who I thought last year, 2020, would have a great chance to start. A guy who Lincoln Riley and Bill Bedenbaugh both said last March, 2020, you remember, before spring practice got rolling and then obviously was canceled. A guy who I thought was going to compete for a starting job, Stacey Wilkins, offensive tackle. Well, he announced yesterday he was hitting the transfer portal, put it out there again on social media today. He's leaving. He thanked the fans. He thanked his teammates. He thanked God. He thanked his coaches. But he's looking for greener pastures somewhere, right? And as it is usually the case with Lincoln Riley, the transfer portal doesn't mean that you've left. You can still opt to come back, but in Lincoln Riley's mind, if you're in the transfer portal, you've left. So not that the door is completely locked and deadbolted, but it's kind of closed. It doesn't sound like Stacey Wilkins is interested in coming back. Remember now, Wilkins had that one spring practice last year, right? And then everything got shut down. And then he opted out of the 2020 season. It was just a herky-jerky situation. We never really got to know the reason why he chose to do that. I mean, you got to presume it was some kind of health scare, right? You know, Jalen Redmond, for example, he's got a history of blood clots. So last thing you want there is some kind of complications with your lungs, right? Breathing. That what a mess that would be if you were to come down with COVID and you've already got blood clots as part of your medical history. Well, we never heard from Stacey about his decision, but when we talked to Bill Bedenbaugh this spring, he said the pandemic and shutting down practice last year really set Wilkins back more than any other player, he said, because here was a guy who is still very young, still learning, still growing into his body. He's so talented. He's got so much upside. He's making his way into the lineup. And now all of a sudden he can't practice. So he goes from being a guy that might have competed for a starting job as a redshirt freshman, to a guy that basically got shut down by the pandemic and then opted out of the season altogether, and it's just one setback after another. Now, Stacy's still a redshirt freshman, technically, right? So he still's got 4 years of eligibility left, but he's going to go play somewhere else. He's 6'6", 316, and he looks like he's got a bright future. I'm seeing where a lot of people are projecting that he is going to probably end up at Arkansas. Maybe, probably, possibly, probably because he's from Camden, Arkansas. But I've also seen other schools like Florida State. I've seen Tennessee pop up, a few others. We shall see, right? We got to speculate. We shall see. And as long as we're speculating, you know what? The transfer portal, last I looked, was a two-way street, and that means literally any moment somebody could walk through the door. Any moment. And that could be happening soon at Oklahoma with a running back out of the SEC. Yeah. Kevontre Bradford was a freshman at LSU last year. He didn't play at all for the Tigers until the final 2 games when they had a big run of injuries. Then he gets in the games and he plays pretty well. He's really good. So just so we're clear here now, okay, Kevontre Bradford, nothing official has been announced, and I'm not announcing it. I'm just saying he is a guy that it's out there that he's strongly considering Oklahoma. Hasn't been announced by Trey Bradford. Certainly hasn't been announced by Oklahoma, but all indications are that he is headed to Norman. We'll see where that heads. I think that would be something now. That would really be something. He would be taking Seth McGowan's place on the roster in the running back room, which I'm a little surprised by that they're adding a guy this late through the transfer portal, because as we saw in the spring game, Jaden Knowles played so well in the spring game. I really thought that Jaden Knowles was going to be maybe elevated a little bit into that spot, 4th running back, but if Bradford does end up coming to Oklahoma, you got to figure he's going to settle behind Kennedy Brooks, Eric Gray, and Marcus Major. Bradford is from Lancaster, Texas. It's near Dallas. I'm telling you, the kid's ready-made. He's 6 foot, 195. He's a really good one-cut runner, not so much a change of direction guy at 6 foot, 195, but he's got very good vision. He definitely has top-end speed. Again, nothing official on that yet, but I think I saw where 24/7 Sports posted its crystal ball, right, that he was 100% coming to OU. 100% is kind of high for me before anything's announced. And those crystal balls have been wrong before. Heck, we all have. But they're usually pretty good with those. They're usually right on the money. So, you know what? As long as we're talking about transfers, I want to encourage you guys to check out my countdown of the top 10 transfers at OU over the last 20 years. Again, no Josh Heupel, no Torrance Marshall, because that was more than 20 years ago, so it's outside the window. I know, right? 20 years, what? But we're doing a little countdown every week. It's a lot of fun to go back and find out how those guys got here. We've almost reached the top 5. Marquise Brown was number 6 last week. So, what we've been doing is combining 4-year transfers and junior college transfers. And you can probably guess who's number 1. And you can probably guess who's number 2. But I don't care. You're smarter than me. It's still fun to go back and tell those guys' stories, how they ended up, at the University of Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley High School Elite Camp is going on today. Lots of news and tidbits coming out of there. So look for our coverage of that coming up in the next few days. Also, the Elite 11 was in SoCal this week. And yes, we have some content coming up for you on a young man by the name of Malachi Nelson. Maybe you've heard of him. Number 1 quarterback in the 2023 class. Well, yeah, if not, you will. I guarantee it. Look for Ryan's story on Malachi coming up on Sunday. Okay, short show today. Ryan's going to be back next week. We're going to get the band back together. Can't wait. Don't forget, big news coming up at SI Sooners. Really can't wait for that. You can listen to the SI Sooners podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts, or on your Amazon-enabled device. Just say, Alexa, play the SI Sooners podcast. Or you can always go to our website, allsooners.com, click on the player, listen on your phone, your tablet, or your computer. Or you can watch the video version on my YouTube channel. Going to try and post that tonight. Hang with me. That's John Hoover Media. For Ryan Chapman, I'm John Hoover. See you guys.